Saw that conversation a moment ago that touched on polarization and fragmentation in the world and the impact it's having on Africa. That fragmentation may now be felt at the United Nations General Assembly meeting in New York. The theme for the meeting is rebuilding trust and reigniting global solidarity. Peter Clottey is a correspondent for Voice of America in New York. Peter, good day to you and thank you for your time. This issue of polarization around the world, the divisions between rich and poor, the divisions over Russia and Ukraine, China and the US, are they being felt in this session?
Indeed, it's being felt. The agenda for the 78th session of the UN General Assembly, as you know, Anga, will primarily focus on the climate crisis and the ongoing war in Ukraine. And as you know, more than 140 world leaders and governments are present for the first day of the high-level debate, which began not long ago. A lot of countries are expressing concern about the ongoing war in Ukraine because they felt that it's having a devastating impact on their respective economies, especially for those in Africa. They are seeing soaring inflation, high prices of goods and services. They are finding it difficult to surmount the economic challenges that this war has been impacting on their economy. So they are calling on the international community to try to resolve this amicably. And that is one of the key issues, especially African leaders are talking about here in New York, and especially here at the Clinton Global Initiative, which is having a meeting on the sidelines of the UN currently.
The United Nations is really the best forum, perhaps the only forum to resolve so many of these problems. But are global leaders really engaged? I mean, 5 of the leaders of the permanent members of the Security Council, most of them aren't even there. What does that tell us?
Well, a lot of skeptics of the UN are expressing concern about your sentiment or the question you asked right now. But supporters of the UN are saying this is the best forum to address some of these major questions. Of course, you have Russian President Vladimir Putin not being present. He will be represented by his Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. But of course, you have Vladimir Zelensky, who is here. And is expected to address the UN Assembly, and then he will proceed to Washington to meet officials of the administration. We are not sure whether President Joe Biden is supposed to meet a lot of heads of state, African heads of state tomorrow. So it's a bit hazy, but there's hope that some of these leaders will bring about some of solution to end this crisis or the ongoing conflict.
There's a lot of talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. Those were set to be met by 2030. It looks like many countries are going to miss that. I mean, that means countries are not properly working, the world's not working, to improve the lives of millions of people.
Well, that is a major concern, like you have expressed. The majority of the countries not particularly doing too well in sub-Saharan Africa or Africa. However, they have expressed enthusiasm for it. And today's meeting, the 2-day meeting of the goals, it's supposed to jumpstart the commitment for some of these countries to be able to surmount the hurdles they are facing. A lot of countries are concerned that climate change is having a devastating effect on them. But the Sustainable Development Goals, they rope it together as a two-pronged thing that they need to deal with simultaneously. Let us remind ourselves that this year's Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, which ends today, marks a new phase of what some of the officials are telling me is the progress towards the SDG with high-level political guidance on transformative and accelerated actions ahead of the 2030 budget. It is hoped that these political leadership will be more pronounced to come up with solutions for some of these countries not doing so well to meet the target, to expedite action to meet these targets, because it will be good for their own people, because they're committed to implementing measures to address it.
Peter Clottey, we'll leave it there. Thank you, correspondent for Voice of America in New York in the United States.